Welcome as we start scenario 1, the Haunted Fortunes. So in this scenario, we need to defeat the villain. Special rules: when you close your location, put a marker next to the scenario. On your check against Lamb's Lamb, which is the danger, we'll add that number of markers to the check. When you encounter a story bane other than Lamb's Lamb, from a location, we somewhere encounter the danger. So something else that's going on: we'll add a D4, do dexterity non-combat checks, and when we play our Hero Blessing card, we may draw a card and may give a card to another character. So for our starting hand, we're going to be looking for an ally card, and we'll draw 5 cards. We have 3 allies, so we're good there. And we will add our Hero Blessing into this. And for Kira, she's looking for a blessing, and she also has a hand size of 5. And we have a blessing, so she'll go ahead and get her Herald card. If this is your first time seeing a game playthrough of Pathfinder Adventure Card Game, overview of the turn is we'll advance the hour by drawing a card from our blessing stack. We have the option to give a card to another local character. We may move to a distant location. We may explore the top card of your location. May try to close your location if it doesn't have any cards, or if we find a henchman that's closing, which will be all the henchmen in this set. And for end of turn, we'll apply end of turn effects. If we have a recovery, we'll do that, and then we'll reset, drawing back up to our hand size. And then for the different ways to play a card, drawing a card is adding it to your hand. Revealing is showing it. Displaying it is placing it face up next to your deck. Reload, put it on top of your deck. Recharge, put it at the bottom of your deck. Discard, to put it into your discard pile. Bury, put it under your character, so it's done for this scenario. And banish, we put it in a recovery pile or the vault. So for starting locations, we'll have Kess start in the alley and Kira start on the boat. So start a turn for Kess. We'll advance the hour, picking a blessing. So when this is the hour, there's no effect for this card. She won't be passing a card or moving, so we'll encounter the top card of the deck, which is going to be a giant fly. Has a combat of 10. If undefeated, we bury a random card from our discard pile. And after acting, shuffle this monster into a random other location. So we're not going to kill it, we're just going to shoo it to a different spot. For combat, we use the powers for Cass. For a combat check, you may use your melee, which is going to be a D10 plus 3. So we'll throw out our D10 die here. And to remember, we're adding 3. We'll put another die out here for what we're adding. We also get a D8. And then since we've got a handful of allies, on your check against a monster in which you did not play a weapon or a spell, you may recharge an ally to add D4 plus that card's level. So we will recharge our guy to add a D4 to this roll. And I feel like that should be enough. We'll see what happens. So we've got 6, 7, 8. That gets us up to 11. So we've defeated the fly. Now it's going to fly to a different location. So we'll just roll our 6-sider. 1 and 2, it'll go to the boat. 3, 4 to the fishery, and 5, 6 to the reading room. So it's going to fly off to the reading room, so we'll shuffle that in this deck. And then we'll go ahead and end our turn. We have a handful of 5 cards, so we won't do anything else and pass it on to Kira. So advancing the hour, no effect for this hour. She'll explore in the boat, finding a giant toad, appropriate. So check to defeat, combat of 10 or acrobatics 7. All damage is poison, and if undefeated, suffer the scourges entangled and poisoned. For this combat check, we'll banish this card to use Arcane or Divine, plus 2d4. Since this has a recovery effect, this will go in a different stack until our recovery phase. Our divine is a D10 plus 3. And the additional 2d4 from the card. So we'll roll this and see what happens. Getting a 5, 8, 11. So that's enough to beat the toad. And we'll discard that from the stack. We'll end the turn. So for recovery, we need a divine 7. So we've got our plus 3 and a D10. Getting an 8. So we'll recharge this card instead. We're at our max hand size, so we'll stop there. Pass turn back to Kess. For this hour, you may avenge by discarding a card, exploring in the alley, finding a gem of mental acuity. So we need intelligence, wisdom, or charisma of 11. Intelligence of D6, wisdom of D4, or charisma of a D8. So we're not getting that without some major help. So I'm not too bothered about wasting the card, so we'll just auto-fail this one and discard that card from the game. And pass turn back to Kira. No effect for the hour. Exploring a little deeper in the boat, we find a snake bite dagger. Strength, dexterity, melee, range, to stealth of 7 to obtain. So our melee is a D8 plus 2. That's going to be our best item to go for. All right. Oops. Over here, so we're looking to roll at least a 5 here. Got a 6 plus the 2, so we've got enough to get a nice snake bite dagger. So we'll add that to our hand. Since we're over our hand size, we'll go ahead and use this blessing to discard to explore again. Finding a hero deck, needing wisdom or perception of 10. Our wisdom is a D10, so there's a chance. So we'll see what happens. We got a 3, so we will discard that card and end our turn. And then we'll go ahead and use a special ability. At the end of your turn, you may recharge a divine card to heal a local character card. We'll go ahead and recharge this divine card. So that goes on the bottom of the deck. We'll resolve that first, and then take a random card from our discard pile. But since there's only one, we'll shuffle this in our deck. And then draw one card to get back up to our full hand size, getting a token of remembrance. Passing turn back to Kess for the hour. On your check, if no boons are played, it is blessed. And this is a harrowed card. What that means for this is the reading room. On your check, if the hour is harrow, we'll add 1 to that check. So we'll go ahead and move Kess on over here and explore. Finding a teamster. So strength, charisma, or diplomacy. So our strength is a D10, diplomacy is a D8 plus 1. We'll just go for the D10 and see what happens. Getting a 10, so we've added a teamster to our hand. And then we're immediately going to go ahead and play him. Discard to explore. This exploration a local character may avenge by reloading a card. So exploring a second time. Finding our thug, which is our story bane. So because of this scenario, before we get too worried about him, we must encounter the lamb's lamb. So we need a constitution fortitude of 8 or a charisma diplomacy of 6. So our diplomacy is a D8 plus 1. Constitution fortitude is a D8 plus 1. So we'll go for the lower number. Putting in a D8. Adding a +1 there. We'll go ahead and discard to bless this check. So we'll be rolling 2 D8s, adding a 1. Then another 1 because of our location. And we're lucky for that additional 1 because there's 2, 4, and then 6. So we've defeated the Lamb's Lamb there. So now on to the Thug. He's got a combat of 12 or a charisma diplomacy of 8. Before acting, you may either banish a boon or attempt a strength, charisma, diplomacy, or melee 5 check. If you fail the check, suffer 1d4 combat damage. I think we'll go ahead and make that check there. So we'll go ahead with our melee, which will be a D10 plus 3. Needing a 2 on this roll. Getting an 8. So we did her before, so now on to combat or diplomacy. And we'll choose combat. So we'll get our D10 plus 3 again. We'll also get a D8. We use our special power to recharge an ally for an additional D4. And then use our war drum on a local combat check, recharge to add another D4. So we're looking for a total of 12 with this. Getting 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, plus 3 more. So we've beat up our Thug. And since all the henchmen in this adventure are closing, we can now attempt to close. So we need to summon and acquire a blessing. If it is a hero blessing, you acquire it automatically. So we'll go through our blessing deck from our vault, give it a quick shuffle, and then pull out benefaction. So we'll need a diplomacy or divine of 5 up. Our diplomacy, it's a D8 plus 1. And since we're at this location, we get another 1. Since this is kind of important, we'll have Kira on another character's check, discard to bless twice. So we'll add 2 more D8s in there. And since this was her Herald card, when that gets played, she can also draw a card. So we're looking for a 5. So we've got 7, 8, 9, plus some more. So we've acquired this card. So since we're closing this location, we'll remove all these cards from play. We'll double check, make sure no villains in there, which it shouldn't be unless I messed up creating the decks. And also, when closed, heal a blessing card. So from Kessa's discard pile, there's only 1 blessing, so we'll shuffle that into her deck. And then since the location was closed, she will immediately move and she'll go back to the alley. I'll go ahead and put her Lamb's Lamb over here. And since we closed the location, we'll put a marker down below there. We'll be adding 1 to any checks against the Lamb's Lamb. Then we will end turn, drawing 2 cards, finding a spiked gauntlet, and a wardrobe. For Kira's turn, for the hour, if you're at a wild location, which only the fishery is wild, you may discard a card to explore. We're going to stay at the boat and take a look. Finding a wolf pack. So it's got a combat 11 or survival of 6 to defeat. Before acting, a local character summons and encounters this monster. So that means since she is alone at this location, she's going to encounter the monster and then have to beat it again. If the check to defeat has the attack or range trait, you may re-roll. So for our first attack, we're going to use our Snakebite Dagger. We will reveal to use our Strength. Dexterity or melee, so we'll use our melee, which is a D8 plus 2, plus a D4, plus 1, and also against an animal or human bane, which this is an animal, you may add another D8 and the poison trait. So another D8. So we're looking for an 11 here. We have 12 showing plus another 3, so that was our before acting ability. Now we'll go for the actual combat. We're going to do the exact same thing, so same dice going in here. Looking for an 11 again. Getting a 3, 6, 7, 8, plus our 3 gets us right to 11. So we've defeated the wolf pack, and we'll discard that. We'll end our turn doing our cleric heal ability, so we're going to recharge a divine card to heal a card. Only have one, so we'll shuffle this into our deck. And then we will draw one card to get up to our hand size. Getting Divine Insight. And passing turn over to Cass for the hour, no effect. Exploring in the alley, we found a porcupine. So wisdom, fortitude, or survival to get a new pet. So wisdom's a D4. Fortitude is a D8 plus 1, so that's going to be our best bet to make a new friend. And we're looking for a 5. So 4 plus 1 means we have a porcupine for a pet. So we will go ahead and use it to discard to explore. If the first card you encounter is a monster, you may recharge this card instead. Not a monster, so it'll stay in our discard pile. So we've got a returning star knife. So strength, dexterity, acrobatics, melee are ranged of 10. So our strength is going to be our best bet of a D10 plus 3. So we'll see what happens here. Getting a 3 plus our 3 is 6. So returning star knife does not return. So we'll pass turn to Kira. On your check against an animal or elemental card, add a D4. She'll go ahead and move over to the alley and explore. Finding an aid spell, needing wisdom divine of 6 to obtain. Our wisdom divine is a D10 plus 3. So we'll roll this and see what happens. Got a 10 plus our 3, so now we have a aid spell, which is divine. So we'll go ahead and use our special heal ability to recharge this to heal a local character. So I move over to Cass, so we'll randomize these cards and then choose one to shuffle back into our deck. And end our turn and pass on to Cass. For the hour, we've got a hero card. On your check against a barrier, the difficulty is increased by 3. So she'll take a look down the alley, finding a barrier. So it's an arcane divine of 7 or knowledge stealth of 9 plus 3. So on checks, when you don't have any of the traits, you get to roll a D4, rolled a 2. We obviously failed. So we didn't examine it, we encountered it. Cannot be evaded. If undefeated, suffer the scourge dazed, then banish this barrier. So dazed, you may not examine locations. If you explored this turn, you may not explore again. If you didn't suffer the scourge on this turn, at the end of your turn, shuffle your hand into your deck and remove the scourge. So we'll put that over there to remember we're in trouble next turn. We'll end our turn. We have 5 cards in hand. So that'll be it. Passing to Kira. So on this one, when a character moves on their turn, each other local character may move with them. We'll go ahead and explore in the alley, finding a horse, needing a wisdom, charisma, or survival of 3. So we will use our wisdom of D10 and see what happens. We got a 9. So now we have a horse. Then we'll go ahead and use the horse. Discard to explore. This exploration on your first check, add a D4. So we found some boots, needing dexterity or acrobatics of 5. Our dexterity is a D4. So thanks to our horse, we have a chance. So roll in here. Dub 3s gets us a 6. So we've got a nice new pair of boots. Recharge to move. May not use this power during an encounter. When you encounter an obstacle or trap barrier, recharge to evade instead. We'll go ahead and recharge to move. We'll go look at the boat. Actually, no, we won't. We're going to stay here. We're going to do some healing. So we will recharge the Divine card to heal our dazed Kess. We have 5 cards in hand, so that will end our turn. For Kess, for the hour. So when you would discard a boon to bless a dexterity or charisma check, you may recharge it instead. We really don't have much going on. We're dazed. We can't examine. So at the end of our turn, we're going to shuffle our hand into our deck and remove this scourge. So we'll take our hand of cards, shuffle into our deck. And then draw 5 cards. Getting all our armors. And we'll pass turn on to Kira. No effect for this hour. We got 2 cards left in the alley, and this one is our Story Bane. So before we get into that, we have to encounter our Lamb's Lamb. We have +1 to this. Charisma Diplomacy or Constitution Fortitude. So our charisma is a D8 +1. Kess, we'll go ahead and discard this card for a blessing. So we'll have 2d8 +2. Getting 9, 10, 11, so we're good here. And now on to our Chemist. We have a Combat of 13 or Craft Diplomacy of 7. So we've got a Diplomacy of a D8 +1. But before acting, each local character suffers an acid damage. Cards discarded as damage are discarded randomly. That's not nice. So both characters are here. So for Kira, we will discard our Viper Strike. And then for Kess, losing some Armored Coat. And then, if undefeated, each local character suffers 1d4 poison damage and the Scourge poisoned. We are going to choose for combat. So, reveal to use our strength, dexterity, or melee. Our melee is a d8 plus 2. We'll also get a d4 plus 1. And we're against a human bane, so we'll get a d8 plus a poison trait. So we're looking for a 13. Getting 6, 9, 10, 13 on the nose. So we've defeated the chemist, which is a closing henchman. So to close, summon and acquire an ally. So grab our ally stack, give it a shuffle, and let's see, third one from the top looks good. Looking for a merchant, charisma diplomacy of 7. We are a d8 plus 1. Got nothing to help with this, so we'll give it a roll here, looking for 7. Getting a 7 plus our 1. So we've acquired an ally, and more importantly, close this location off. So draw the allies next to this location. There aren't any, so our location is closed. Rest of the cards get discarded. And then we'll have Kira move to the boat and Kess over to the fishery. End of turn, Kira will discard a divine card, or recharge, to heal. And then we have 4 cards in hand, so we'll draw one more. Getting a blessing. And pass turn to Kess. On your non-attack combat check, we'll add 1. Go ahead and explore in the boat, finding a door spike. So dexterity, wisdom, disable, or perception of 8. Our dexterity is a d6, wisdom a d4, disable, we don't know what that is, and we don't know what perception is. So if undefeated, suffer d4 combat damage. Each other local character suffers a combat. So dex of d6. Let's see if we've got any cards to help us. Well, there's no way we can pass this. So we're going to suffer 1d4 combat damage. Taking 2 combat damage. Kess's special ability is when you discard cards as damage, it counts as up to 2, so we just have to lose 1 card for this. We'll pick our soldier. Since we were unable to defeat this Bane, this will get shuffled back into the stack. Put it back up there. We have 2 cards in hand, so we'll draw 3 cards. And next turn, I will try to remember to display our half plate. And I just messed up and shuffled the card back into the boat stack when Kess was over here at the fishery. So whenever I do find, I think I did that from the boat, I'll just say she was standing over here, which means Kira would take d4 damage also, which would be 1 damage. And we'll lose the scimitar for that. So it was a fairly easy fix for messing up. So for Kira's turn, for the hour, there's no effect. She will stay at the boat and take a look, finding the door spike again. So her wisdom is a little bit better. Wisdom is a d10. Nothing to help, so we're looking for an 8 on this roll. Getting a 10. So the door spikes will go away this time, thank goodness. Then we'll use her cleric ability to recharge a divine card and heal herself a Viper Strike and shuffle that into her deck. And then we'll draw up to 5 cards, getting our Viper Strike and a Frozen Touch. Pass turn to Kess. On each check, the first blessing played to bless may be played freely. This time Kess will move to the fishery, and I'll try to remember where we're at. And the special ability, when you explore, examine the top 2 cards of this location, shuffle 1 into the location, and encounter the other. So we'll look at the top 2 cards. Finding the villain, we'll definitely keep that one and shuffle this back in. Before dealing with this, we get Lamb's Lamb, and there should be 2 tokens in with this now. So Constitution Fortitude of 8 or Charisma Diplomacy of 6. So we have a D8 plus 1. Nothing to help with, so we'll just roll this out. Getting a 7 plus 1, so we're good there. So now on to our villain. So we need to do a combat of 13 or survival of 8, and then do a combat of 12. Before acting, attempt a dexterity, acrobatics, perception, or stealth 6 check. If you succeed, you may evade. If you fail, suffer D4 combat damage. And for non-combat dexterity checks, we get to add a D4. That's because of the harrow. And our dexterity is a D6. So we'll see what we get here. Getting a 6, 7, which is what we needed. So we're good there, and we'll go ahead and go on a combat. For our combat, we're going to use our melee of a D10 plus 3. And a D8. We'll then use our snake, the local combat check, recharge to add a D4. We'll use our spike gauntlet. Your combat check, reveal to add 1 in the melee piercing traits. So we'll see if we get 13 with this. 9, 10, 11, 15, 19. So that was our first combat check. Now we need a combat of 12, which will be our D10 plus 3 plus the D8. We'll reveal our gauntlet again for our plus 1. So needing a 12. Getting a 13 showing plus some more. So we've defeated the villain, which will automatically close this location and remove all the cards behind it. And if we can guard this location, we will have won this scenario. So we need to succeed at a wisdom or survival 6 check. With Kira, her wisdom is a D10. Nothing to add to this, so we'll just roll away. Getting a 5. We are 1 short. Nothing we can do about that. So villain will run and hide over here. It's got nowhere else to go. So shuffle that in that location spot. One more location down. Another marker for our lamb's lamb. And we will move over to the boat together. Go ahead and end our turn, drawing a card, finding a prayer, then passing turn to Kira. No effect this hour. We'll take a peek, finding a helpful haversack, dexterity or intelligence of 6. Our dex is a d4, intelligence is a d6. So d6 roll, needing a 6, getting a 1, sack goes away. We'll go ahead and use our merchant. Discard to explore. This exploration on your checks to acquire. Add a d4. So we'll see we've got a pig to acquire, so we're adding a d4. Wisdom survival. Our wisdom is a d10. So we need a 3. We've got an 8, so now we've got a pig. We'll go ahead and discard to explore. In this exploration, when you defeat a monster, heal a card. Finding perplexing text, needing intelligence or knowledge of 8. Our intelligence is a d6. If undefeated, end your turn. If defeated, draw a new spell or book item. And we're just going to have Kess discard this card to bless that, so that you've got a chance at least. Looking for an 8. Getting a 9. So draw a new spell or a book item. So we'll just take a spell out of vault. Then we'll go ahead and use our cleric ability to recharge a card to heal a local character. We'll heal Cass. This card here gets shuffled into her deck. Then we will draw up to 5 cards, getting a blessing. Passing turn back to Cass. No effect for the hour. Taking a look. Finding a dog, needing wisdom survival of 3. Our wisdom is a d4, so not the best chance in the world. Got a 2. Dog sees us and runs away. We will put on our half plate, which I keep forgetting to do, and then draw up to 5 cards. Getting a porcupine and a war drum. So passing turn to Kira. When you heal, you may heal an additional card, so that's going to be nice. We find our bandit. That's nice. So we know what this last card is. So we can either do a combat or banish. Well, first, we've got to go after our lamb's lamb here. Needing charisma diplomacy of 6. So we're a d8 plus 1. That's all we've got. So we'll roll and see what we get. Getting an 8 plus 1, so we're good there. So now, whoops, on to our bandit. We already knew what was next. Combat of 11 or banish a random boon. Before acting, recharge a card. We'll recharge our boots. Then we're going to pull out our dagger to give us our melee, which is a d8 plus 2. Plus a d4 plus 1. And since we're against a human bane, we'll get another d8. And we'll see what we get there. Needing an 11. So we've got 8, 9, 10, 13. So we've defeated our story bane. No sense to try to close, so we'll just keep it the way where it's at. Ending our turn, we'll recharge a divine card to heal a random card. And we'll draw 2 cards. Finding our Dance Blessing and some Holy Water. We'll pass turn. When you would bury a boon, succeed at its check to acquire or banish it instead. And then we'll go into our villain fight. Going after Lamb's Lamb first. Getting a D8 plus 1 for our diplomacy. We'll have Kira bless this. So needing a 6. Getting a 9 plus another 1, so we're good there. Now we need a combat check of 13 and then a 12. But before acting, attempt a dexterity, acrobatics, perception, or stealth 6-up check. So because of the hero, we get a D4. And our dexterity is a D6. So we'll see what happens here. Getting a 5. So our luck stones are going to come in handy. On your check, after the roll, recharge to add 1. So we'll make that check, and now we're off to a combat fight. And for us, that means a D10 plus 3. And a D8. We can also recharge an ally for D4. But we're better off with a porcupine just recharging to add a D8 if we're against an animal monster. And this is a monster with an animal trait, so we'll get another D8. We'll reveal this to get another plus 1. We're looking for a 13 on these. Getting 7, 8, 11. So we have to come in with our armor. On our check, we can recharge to re-roll a D4, D6, or D8. So we're going to re-roll this D8 by recharging this card. Getting a 4, so that's going to take us up to 15, so we'll pass that check. And now we need to do a second check of 12 to win this adventure. So we'll start with a D10 plus 3 and the D8 for our character power. And then Kira will use her Herald card on another character's check, discard to bless twice. So we get 2 more D10s. She'll get to discard that and draw a card. And we're looking for a total of 12. Getting 10, 14, 19, 22. So we've defeated the villain and succeeded at the edge of anarchy. Our reward for this scenario is a character gets the loot item Zalora's Hero deck, and we rally the supporter Cressida Croft. So the item is a level 2 card, but since it's loot, we will be able to use it in a level 1 scenario or adventure. We get to reload to examine the top 3 cards of any character's deck and return them in any order. Banish to examine the top 3 cards of any location and return them in any order. And during recovery, discard this card. You may succeed at a Perception 12 check to recharge it instead, adding a D4 if the hour is harrowed. And then for Cressida Croft, who will be at the base location if the scenario allows it, we can display, and while displayed, you may bury to draw a new weapon or armor. And for an upgrade, you may bury to draw a new attack spell or healing spell. So I hope you enjoyed this playthrough. So please click on the like button below and be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.